Hello, this is Frida Liu and you're watching The Shift. Of course, we talk about everything around sustainability. In 1952, Dr. Ruben Rausing, together with Swedish engineer 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗏, developed a tetrahedron-shaped paper packaging carton as an alternative to the heavy glass bottles used for packaging and distributing milk. This inspired the name of the Tetra Pak company and marked the start of their groundbreaking contribution to the safe distribution of food around the world. 71 years on, what has evolved now that sustainability is on the cards for everybody? I'm here with Terrynz, Sustainability Director for Southeast Asia, Tetra Pak. Very nice to be speaking to you again, Terrynz. Right. When we talk about what's happening around Tetra Pak and sustainability, what are some of the initiatives from a global perspective?
Okay, thank you very much, Frida, for having me here. Tetra Pak, when it comes to sustainability, is really a very integral part of how we run the business. I think that's also a little bit coming from the Swedish culture of the company. So every part of the business, actually, that we can see a lot of sustainability initiative being integrated into the business. And when we talk about, okay, what sort of business Tetra Pak is in, we always like to say that Tetra Pak is in the business of protecting food. Okay. Because essentially, the company provides processing and packaging systems for the liquid food industry. Right. And I think one of the most important things for us when it comes to sustainability comes from really trying to ensure that there is a resilient and sustainable food system that provides affordable and safe food to consumers around the world. So the vision of the company is actually we commit to making food safe and available everywhere. So being a company that really commit to that vision. So our sustainability approach actually is embedded to our promise to protect what's good. Right. Yeah. And we can actually look at it from 3 different angles, from protecting food, of course, not only that, but of course protecting people and of course protecting planet. So these are really the 3 cornerstones when we talk about sustainability. And when it comes to food, then of course it starts from how we design the packaging, the type of system that we provide to the industry so that it's low carbon solutions, all the way to the end of life. So we look at it as in a value chain perspective. Yeah. Right. So from raw material sourcing to how we distribute, how we manufacture, and all the way to the end of life. And all these are actually taken into account when we talk about the strategy of the business, the strategic direction of the business. And sustainability is always up there. Yeah, as one of the top priorities.
And I know you were saying that you've been doing this work with the company for 15 years, right? And it's like 15 years people were not talking about it yet here, but such a Swedish, Scandinavian kind of thing that they're always thinking like that already.
Right, right. Yep. So it's really like when you mentioned about how the company started, the tetrahedron-shaped packaging, that's the story behind it as well. And it's very much related to sustainability. Okay. So when Dr. Ruben Rausing, at that time, is glass bottle, yeah? Everything, it's like milk and everything is distributed in glass bottle. And to him, he said, there must be a better solution. Yeah? Glass is heavy, it's breakable, and it doesn't allow long-distance distribution. So he was looking at that and said, hey, let's develop something. And he thought about using a renewable resource. Glass is not it's not from a renewable resource. Okay, let's use paper. But paper to contain liquid, so then he developed the system of the 6-layer aseptic packaging that allows the protection of the food as well as long-distance distribution without refrigeration and without need of preservative. So that itself cuts down a lot of the carbon footprint. And the shape itself, Frida, that shape, the tetrahedron shape, why we start with that shape? It's like kind of like odd shape for a milk.
I thought it was just a design element. No, there's actually,
Yes, so from a geometrical perspective, that is the shape that uses the least amount of material to contain the maximum amount of liquid next to a spear, a ball. But you can't have your milk rolling on your breakfast table, so that's the next best. So Dr. Ruben Rausing, for him, is a package should save more than it costs. So that's why that shape. Yeah, so from there, of course, the company developed the rectangular shape, which is very common today, and it's also very efficient from a distribution perspective. And still, it's only 3% of the weight of the packaging is the package, 97% of the weight is the product, which is what we want to distribute and deliver to the consumer, not the packaging, but the food, bringing the food to the consumer. So I think that's also another part that demonstrates really the principle behind the company that we always believe in a package should save more than it costs. It should protect food it should also protect the planet.
Right. Okay. So those aspects. Now, and I know one of the things I was just looking at the website as well. Tetra and I guess you can try to explain as much as you can. But Tetra Pak looks at sustainability from 8 angles: the food safety and quality, which you covered, food loss and waste, food access and stability, social sustainability, climate and decarbonization, biodiversity and nature, circularity and recycling, and employees, right? I won't ask you to elaborate a little bit more, but maybe something a little bit, what some things you can share, maybe.
In fact, actually, Frida, what you mentioned just now actually then links back to the 3 areas that I mentioned earlier: protecting food, which basically then is about the minimizing food waste, making food safe and available and affordable. That's all covered under the food part. And that actually links to a lot about our work on designing the processing and packaging systems. Yeah? How do we process food in order for us to maintain the nutritional quality, but at the same time, make it less perishable, making it last longer and able to distribute further. So that's on the food part, minimizing food waste as well. Yeah? And the other item that you mentioned about biodiversity, climate and all that, that's actually under the protecting planet. So under protecting planet, we have climate, we have biodiversity, and we have circularity. Yeah. So each of these actually is interlinked. And of course, on the people part, when we talk about not only taking care of our employees, the well-being, health and safety, which is really the key. Yeah. People, organizations are made up of people. There's a lot of programs that we run under that pillar, but not only about our employees, but also the society, the social impacts. We want to make sure that as we want to run the business in a sustainable and responsible manner, and there's a lot of interaction with local communities. So we want to make sure that while we run our business, we also create positive social impact in the communities that we work with. So that's essentially sort of like how we look at all the different areas and links back to the 3 main areas.
And that's why you've been in the company for so long. Okay. And what's happening in Malaysia, right? And I guess what are some of the roadblocks you've seen so far?
Sustainability?
Yeah.
I think Malaysia, I'm quite happy to say that especially, in my opinion, we are on the right track. There's a lot of good developments that we see now, a lot of initiative that is taken by the government. For example, the National Circular Economy Council that's being set up. We have actually a waste segregation at source act that's already being implemented. So the foundation is actually there in terms of regulations, in terms of the direction of the country. In fact, when we look into the Plan Malaysia, if you look into the details of some of the chapters, you can see that sustainability is actually very strongly called out. So I think on that level, I think we are on the right track at least. Of course, some of the challenges is really making sure that the infrastructure really goes hand in hand with this aspiration of where the company, where the country would like to go. And I think that takes a lot of collaboration. It's a multi-stakeholder involvement. Consumer needs to sort of like be aware and take actions. And then, of course, the different infrastructure of the value chain. Whether it's public run or whether it's a private run, commercial collection, sorting infrastructure, I think we still have a lot of room to improve in the country. For example, compared to maybe some of the countries in Europe, for example, we don't really have like a very advanced material recovery facility. If you go to some of the countries in the West, the more advanced, you will see that it's automated. You walk into a material recovery facility, you don't see like garbage. You basically see equipments and very advanced sorting lines, optical recognition, and different materials get sorted. I think this is the sort of direction that I think the company can advance towards. So I think the challenges is basically the infrastructure has to be much more robust and much more advanced in terms of using technology, using digitalization. These are all technology that I think we can actually adopt to help us advance our waste management system in the country.
And of course, Tetra Pak is also part of MARIA, right? Malaysian Association of Recycling Alliance. So that also, I know that's where all the major players and producers come together so that, I guess collectively you can do things better. Right?
I think one of the objective of MAREA, the Malaysia Recycling Alliance, which basically is the first industry alliance that focuses on packaging waste collection and recycling. It's a way that we would like to foster closer private-public collaboration in this area. Most of the members in MAREA actually have already implemented different programs. But what we thought is, maybe we can pull all these resources together and work hand in hand with the government and see how the industry can actually support. Moving from, of course, we know that now EPR is basically on voluntary basis. Extended producer responsibility is still very much on voluntary basis. But in the future, it might become something that is mandatory. So I guess it's very high time for the industry to really come together and work with the government.
And it's actually just better for the nation. I mean, let's do the carrot first. Later on, we do the stick, right? But hopefully you'll come on, before the stick comes out, right? So yeah, you're talking about the government. The local government development, 𝗂𝗶𝗄𝗏 Ministry has announced the launch of the National Circular Economy Council for Solid Waste Management in Malaysia, right? And this, do you feel, is a critical step towards Malaysia's transition to a circular economy? So how is Tetra Pak supporting this?
Okay. Under one of the pillar, again, back to the protecting planet. So we have three focus areas: biodiversity, we have climate, and we have circularity. So that is already part of how we actually support the local markets that we operate in to set up a sustainable value chain for collection and recycling of beverage cartons. That has been something that I've been doing for many years. And that really then links very well to the National Circular Economy Council, because I think it's a very, very nice move. I think when I hear about this, it's really exciting, I think, for the industry as well, because now we really have a national level initiative, a program that is led on a national level to really look at how private and public sectors can come together to really move forward the circular economy foundation for the country. And there's a lot of provisions under this, or objectives under this council that supports the advancement of the waste management industry, for example. How can we create, let's say, a thriving business or market for recycled products? So all these actually are very important cornerstones so that we are able to establish a more sustainable collection and recycling of packaging waste in the country. So for Tetra Pak, we are obviously something that we feel very excited about, and we feel that we can contribute definitely, because we have been doing this on a voluntary basis with this council. Then our efforts is basically, of course, making sure from a packaging perspective, as a packaging supplier, we make sure that the packaging is always designed to be recyclable. Making sure that it has a solution in the country, there's people collecting it, there's factory that's going to use it as a material, there's technology and capacity that is sufficient to collect and recycle the beverage carton in Malaysia. And that actually links right into the National Circular Economy Council's objectives.
And I know from there, because I was reading about it and I saw on your LinkedIn post, you're very excited because this is your 𝗂𝗏𝗃𝗏 project, which was, I was like, whoa, way back in 2012.
Right.
What's this about?
Okay, 𝗂𝗏𝗃𝗏, I'm glad you asked, because it's one of a long-term project that we have started back in 2012. So it's more than 10 years that this project has been running in Malaysia. It's a project that is in collaboration between Tetra Pak and Nestle Milo UHT. Which is the brand that everyone is very familiar about. And the objective of the 𝗂𝗏𝗃𝗏 project is really about creating consumer awareness on beverage carton recyclability. But not only that, we also work with establishing collection network. Because just by consumer knowing that it's recyclable doesn't get the package into the recycling plant. So we need to establish also collection network, building collection infrastructure. And from there, we also work with recyclers, the off-takers, to make sure that there is a capacity and technology to recycle the beverage carton. And one of the unique thing about 𝗂𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗏 is there's also an element about having the recycled products back to benefiting the community. So how it works is we collect the beverage cartons, send it to the paper mill, recycle it into panel boards and roofing sheets, and it's being donated back to the community.
This is where you explain to me, right? So this is your typical milk carton, what have you, that you can get, and then so this is separated into this too.
Yes.
So this is the foil.
Yes, correct. So what happened, Frida, is the beverage carton, 70% of the beverage carton is paper.
Okay.
Yeah? So it belongs to the paper category when it comes to recycling. And once we collect it, it goes to a paper mill for recycling. That's the first step. So at the paper mill, it's being separated into these two materials. The fiber, which is the 70% of the carton, and the other 30% is basically the polyethylene and the aluminium layers. Yeah. So for fiber, of course, it's pretty straightforward. You make it into recycled paper, then you can make different paper products. But what's unique and what is linked to the carton project is this part, which is a 30%, is then being further processed into this material that you have in your hand. It's a roofing tile.
Roofing tile. Wow, okay.
And also panel boards of different thickness. So you can actually use it as for partition or for furniture. So what happens is in carton project, we convert all the beverage carton that we collect under the program, recycle it into these materials, and then we donate it back to the community. Okay, and what has happened since then? When you say donate back to the community, what has been the end result of that? Okay. So when we started in the early part of the project, our first beneficiary is 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗏. I'm not sure whether you've heard of 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗏.
Yes, okay.
So 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗏 basically does a lot of work in building homes for Orang Asli community. So we have been they have been our beneficiaries since day one of the project. So every time when they have a home building project, the roof comes from carton project. The partition for the wall solutions, also donated by carton. And apart from homes, they've also ventured into like building sanitary units, toilets for Orang Asli villages. Also using this material for the wall and the roof from this project. So that's one example. And over the years, of course, we have other communities that have come on board as beneficiary. For example, 𝗳𝗂𝗃𝗍, the 𝗳𝗂𝗃 Buddhist Association. So they're also using the boards for their recycling center and also donation for home refurbishment for some 𝗬𝗰𝗍𝗃 families who have, you know, when the houses is impacted by floods or impacted by storm and whatnot. So different organizations, basically it's open. Any community projects or any NGO, they can actually just write to Tetra Pak, tell us about your project and you need some of these boards for your community projects. Once we evaluated it, we can donate the boards.
So it's not so, it is sold commercially as well.
It is also sold commercially,
but this is where you come in. Oh, okay, so interesting, right? Other than that, what are some new innovations and technologies that will be introduced or that has been introduced by Tetra Pak?
From a packaging perspective, some of the innovation that is linked to sustainability, this topic is on that. For example, we have introduced bio-based polymer and bio-based caps. So previously, the caps, now the opening of the package and also the polyethylene coating, those are from plastics. Basically, it's a plastic material. But now, Tetra Pak can also offer bio-based options to our brand owners. So they can actually opt for using bio-based caps, bio-based straw, bio-based coating. So that improves the overall sustainability features of the pack, and it lowers down also the carbon footprint of the pack as well. That's one. The other innovation that we are actually now introducing is what we call the non-detachable cap. So today, if you buy some of the screw cap, it's detachable. So it has a risk of being, you know, not collected for recycling because it's not part of the package. So what we have now as an option is what we call a tethered cap, a non-detachable. It's a non-detachable cap. So it stays with the package throughout the life cycle and into the recycling stream.
Okay, so these are little things that we don't know that this, if it's separated, it actually affects the recycling aspect.
It affects it in a way that if it's not being collected, because if it's detachable, potentially maybe the consumers will like, you know, they just recycle the pack, but the cap is sort of like, you know,
which is what I would do.
Get missed out in the recycling stream. So it's sort of like, then it may become a litter if it's not being, you know, treated and collected properly for recycling. So having it non-detachable, it stays with the package throughout the life cycle until end of life as well. So that's something that we have now in our portfolio for our customers. And of course, we are also working on what we call circularity in design. So how can we increase further the renewability content of our package and making it easier to be recycled? For example, today we have a very thin layer of aluminium, which is very important today to protect the product inside. But we are also doing a lot of research to see if we can find a renewable material that can replace. But still provide the same protection properties.
So these are all the thoughts, process that's been happening and is in the works and all that.
Right.
I know, like, okay, so Terrynz, your work covers Southeast Asia. Maybe some of the highlights that's been happening in the region that you can share?
There's been a lot happening in the region, a very exciting past few years. In fact, if we look closely to the ASEAN countries, Southeast Asia countries, all of these markets are already on the pathway towards EPR, for example, Extended Producer Responsibility, whether it's in a draft stage or it's already being something that is enacted and become a regulation. So all countries are already having this direction where the government is asking the industry to come forward and collaborate. So I think that's something that sets a common tone around the Southeast Asia market. Of course, the maturity of the recycling and collection infrastructure is very different. If you compare, let's say, even Malaysia, I think we have a good start. We have some basic infrastructure that we can already rely on. But in some countries, there's still a lot of dependence on informal sector.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of work that we have to do differently when it comes to countries like that. For example, in the Philippines, we have a special program, what we call the Sorter Support Program, where we work directly with the informal sector, helping to formalize them in a way, giving them proper system to work under, a program that takes care of their well-being, their safety when they perform the sorting work every day, making sure that whatever that they sort, we help them to link to the infrastructure, the ecosystem, so they can get a better income from the work that they do. So different system, different infrastructure, different approach that we need to work with in different countries. In Singapore, it's very different. In Singapore, then it's about really making sure that the beverage carton can be sorted from the mixed paper stream. In Thailand, then it's a different challenge where we work with the government on setting up MRF, so that big cities like Bangkok, how can we work with the government to set up a proper material recovery facility, supported by the industry, helping to sort materials in a better and more efficient way. So I think every country now has have really increased the pace. That is, I think, something common in terms of moving towards a more sustainable waste management policy.
But everywhere you go, it is public-private partnerships. You have to work collaboratively.
Yes.
Okay. So exciting, so interesting to see what's happened, the whole journey that you've been sharing. So thanks for being here. I've been speaking to Terrynz Tan from Tetra Pak, and of course, this is The Shift.